Commence primary ignition.
Welcome to the Reforming Nerddom Star Wars Skeleton Crew After Show with your hosts, Jordan and Ben.
We'll make a partnership.
Whoa, where'd you two find an Old Republic credit?
A crew of murderous pirates is coming.
Be warned of booby traps.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to a galaxy far, far away. We are Reforming Nerddom. I am Ben, and over here to my virtual left is Jordan. Jordan, how you doing?
I am well. How are you, Ben?
Fantastic. We are looking this week at episode 7. I forgot to pull up my notes. Episode 7, titled "We're Gonna Be in So Much Trouble." We have a runtime of just shy of 30 minutes. Which is just a couple minutes longer than last week's episode, but I felt like as I was watching it, it felt a fair bit longer than last week's episode. Directed this week by Lee Isaac Chung. Bit of an unknown up until a couple years ago, did mostly indie stuff, documentaries, things like that. Then 2023 landed an episode of Mandalorian Season 3. And then last year in 2024, he directed Twisters, pretty popular movie that came out last year. So good for Mr. Chung. And then this week's episode also written by Christopher Ford and John Watt. So as we've said, these guys have written the majority of the episodes. They did episodes 1 through 4. Then took a break for episodes 5 and 6, and now they're finishing out this season with episodes 7 and 8. So, Jordan, did you get to catch the episode on release night, Tuesday night?
I did. Had to stay up real late.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah. You really, really quick initial, positive, negative. Enjoy the episode?
I liked it. There were some things that I was quite surprised that weren't revealed in this episode, which we'll get to, but...
I agree. I was expecting... I really thought this was going to be a 2-episode finale. And it felt like more just kind of lead up to the finale.
I'll be curious to see what the runtime is for episode 8.
That's true.
They could just surprise us with an hour-long final episode, which...
You might be right.
It just feels like there's enough stuff that I don't know if a 30-minute episode...
I feel like there's a lot left.
Yeah.
Either there's a lot left, or they're going to surprise me with a cliffhanger, which I really, really didn't expect.
It makes you wonder. Yeah, I'd be curious, because it doesn't seem like they can resolve this in 29 to 36 minutes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot to go. All right. Well, I think we're going to do things a little bit differently this week. Normally, we have been sort of taking you all through a quick plot summary and then going through positives and negatives and Easter eggs and all that kind of stuff, doing that all separately. This week, both Jordan and I, for whatever reason, kind of came to the same conclusion as we were taking our notes down and everything, that we're going to look at the episode sort of in chronological order and just talk about things as they come, and probably the conversation will wind us down different bunny trails and things like that, but that's okay. So before we get into the meat of the episode, let's take a quick look at our sponsors.
Have you ever opened your internet browser in search of quality Christian books, only to find yourself wading through page after page of Joel Osteen books, Nerf guns, and tacky wall art? Thousand Generations Print Company is here to save the day. With a unique, family-owned approach, quick 24-hour processing, a commitment to providing heretic-free literature, and real human customer service, they focus on offering books that not only enlighten, but align with Orthodox Christian teachings. And, being conveniently located in southern Ontario, there's no more need to sell your left kidney to pay for shipping within Canada. Visit at actuallychristianbooks.com. Again, that's actuallychristianbooks.com. And order yourself anything from Haunted Cosmos to Sir Battlelot and use promo code NERDDOM, that's NERDOM, all caps, and receive 10% off your next order. Thousand Generations Print Company, books for building, books for battling, for 1,000 generations.
I'm Brent, and I'm rebuilding LEGO Star Wars to be the best display and play LEGO models. I enjoy the nostalgia of Star Wars by creating LEGO sets designed for adults but can be handed down to children. I've spent far too much time obsessed with LEGO and Star Wars, and God made me far too creative to let it all go to waste. So I created a YouTube channel, Boffman Bricks, to share what I'm building.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Jordan, would you like to start us off with our plot summary, talking points, so on and so forth? What do you got?
I would love to. All right, so the episode, it starts with the parents of the kids. They are in the woods.
Not only the parents, the episode starts off with the two lesbian moms of KB specifically, which gave me like heart palpitations a little bit of just like, oh boy, here we go.
I know. And they were kind of like featured together a few times in the episode. So thankfully there weren't any no mom kisses or anything like that.
Yeah, nothing insidious, nothing overt, but I mean almost just as bad to have it just so normal.
I know.
Ground kind of thing, but
yeah. So yeah, the parents, they're in the woods and they are trying to launch a communication beacon up to be able to reach the kids to communicate to them. And this is the droids, kind of very robotic droids come and say that they are trying to release this unauthorized communication device. And once they surround the kids, flash the lights, one of the moms takes off with it, right? I think it's one of the moms grabs the device and
it's Neil's
mom. That's right.
And she's like, I'll take it and run. Yeah.
And she starts running, and then they stun her. And then it's funny how one of the moms picks it up and she's like, "Oh, she'll be fine." So then they all keep bailing, which is just hilarious because it's like, how like relatable is that to kids when you're doing like things like that? When I was younger, absolutely would have happened. It's like, oh, he's good, and just like keep running to save your own skin. But anyways.
Did you catch the security droids or whatever? Just the most Orwellian, like, you will be stunned for your own safety.
Yeah,
we're going to do you harm.
Yes,
for your own safety. I was like, oh man, yeah.
So yeah, they then keep getting stunned, drop it. The other mom, and then Wim's dad picks it up, runs, gets stunned, and then finally it's Fern's mom. She picks it up, she runs, she hides. And she's able to successfully release this communication beacon to hopefully reach the kids to help them try to find their way home. We then jump to the kids. They're back on the ship, and they're just being kids, having fun, excited.
They're having a blast.
They're about to get back home, which they're really excited about. And then we also we join Brutus.
Except for Wim, though.
Yes, that's true.
Wim is. So an episode ago, Wim is pouting because he's actually scared about the adventure that they're on. And now this week he's pouting because they're going home and the adventure is going to end.
Yeah. Well, and we'll have more to say about Wim shortly. Yeah. About his role in the episode. But then it jumps back to Brutus's ship where they get to Atten first. And they see that it's actually just this, as what does Brutus call it? He calls it a toxic maelstrom, this like gaseous toxic covering,
just a big storm.
Doesn't look like a planet or anything. So then they tell Jod that he's lying and they're going to throw him in the airlock. Jod then what looked actually like an initial lie, just to try to continue to prolong his time. He's like, oh, it's hidden within the toxic gas. Atten is hidden within it. And it kind of looks like he's just making it up, but then
I think he is.
And then SM33, he's like, "Hey, what does it say in Renid's captain's log?"
Yeah, like trying to buy more time.
Yeah.
He's like, SM33, look it up. Like,
and then he says that yes, Ad-Atten, according to Rened's log, is hidden in an endless storm. So he's kind of redeemed. His lie was actually true.
And even he's like, aha, like I was right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then so Jod, he offers to fly into the storm, and Brutus sees what he's probably or possibly trying to do is to escape. He says no, sends in a volunteer, one of his crewmates, and he goes into the ship or into the storm. And not surprisingly, he dies. His ship blows up. The electrical storm within the toxic maelstrom
A couple
blows the shit
of
up.
things. One thing Jod says there in that little speech where he's trying to save his own butt, he does say that Ad-Atten's been hidden for hundreds of years. As far as I can remember, because we've talked about it multiple times, like, I think this is the first time they've actually given us a timeline for, like, because we've been like, Old Republic, what does Republic mean? All, like, we've never actually heard a time frame. And so we have it's still kind of vague, but at least it's hundreds of years, whatever that means, so more than 100, less than 1,000, I assume, so it's somewhere. So I thought that was interesting to finally hear. And then I loved the pilot guy who goes in the little snub fighter. I don't know if you noticed, but just the costume design, like he's the like one of the squid face guys with the tentacles for a beard sort of thing, and even like a couple of his little tentacles are chopped off. And
I didn't notice that.
like just like he's just a pirate guy that's obviously been roughed up more than a few times. And then another guy, another alien later, one of the ones that's guarding the kids later on in the ship. Yeah, I can't remember what alien species that is anyway, but they've got like the big funny looking eyeballs, and he has a big black eye patch over one of his funny eyeballs. I just thought like they're doing a really good job with the pirate aesthetic, with all the like
The props in
these Star Wars aliens that we know, right, that are familiar, but then giving them a specifically pirate aesthetic. They've done.
And there's another thing that I'll mention in a second that I thought was kind of clever, just a little thing, but I thought was good. So yeah, after he dies, I don't know if they mentioned his name, but the volunteer, he dies. They then, because the ship blows up, or his does, they throw Jod in the airlock. And just before they send him out, the kids show up in their ship flying towards the planet. And then Jod, he tells Brutus and the other guys that the onyx cinder is the key. And then in order to be able to get through the toxic maelstrom, and Brutus, his ship then starts using a tractor beam to pull the kids in so they can get the ship, because Jod says that it's the ship that is the key to being able to get through. And then once do you think
Jod actually knew that?
I don't know.
And just him trying to buy time, sort of guessing.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure.
So I actually felt at the time, and I had to go back and change my notes after more of Jod got revealed in this episode. But I actually thought when the kids flew in on the ship, and he's like, basically like, I've got it. Like I figured it out. Well, he like has this light bulb moment when he's about to get thrown at the airlock. I felt like at the time he did that to save the kids, because they said, they're like, blow up the ship, like,
right.
They were about to hit, press the button to hit fire to blow up the ship, and he's like, I've got it. And I was like, oh, okay, so like he still has some level of affection for these kids, doesn't want to see them get blown up. And maybe that's there hidden down deep somewhere, but I now that I've seen the whole episode, it's like, no, I it's probably more that he just wanted the ship, not the kids who were on the ship. But
yeah, well, he had an interesting episode, which we'll get to in a sec. But the kids then, tractor beam pulls them in. They're on the frigate, and then they open up the hatch and call the kids out. Kids don't come. They end up using like this giant hanging arm thing to pick up Brutus and hold him capture and say like, oh, let us go, or they were threatening them. This is where it becomes interesting, because then Jod finally uses his force powers kind of publicly, but also a little bit discreetly. not really sure, but he did it to release the shackles or the handcuffs that he was using. But it didn't really look like anybody was bothered by it, at least any of the pirates. So maybe they just didn't notice. He kind of did it with his back turned to them.
I mean, like he reacts.
Yeah. So
On screen. Yeah.
So it was just interesting if he just hid that, if they might know something, I don't know. But he then grabs, this is where like an amazing like hand musket shaped blaster, which was just awesome. Like just a little thing, but it like looks like a hand musket.
Yeah.
And so that was really
like
cool.
single shot. Yeah.
Yeah. So then, and then the big surprise is he walks up to Brutus and he kills him. He executes Brutus.
How'd you feel about that?
That was darker than like, that was like a pivotal thing in like, okay, this episode, as you'll hear, listeners, if you haven't watched it. I mean, at this point, I'm hoping you probably did watch it, but
yeah. I mean, all of these after shows are nothing spoilers.
So. Yeah. So the episode took a darker turn than and from there, all of a sudden it was like, oh, like you said, I don't actually think he's being redeemed. I think he is actually like a terrible guy.
It's like he is the bad guy of the season.
Yeah.
Which I really didn't expect. I mean, and now like after this episode, I hope he is. Because I don't like I mean, I know to some degree it's like, well, they wanted us to feel for Vader after Anakin slaughtered a bunch of younglings, right? When Vader gets redeemed, you're supposed to be happy about that, which is, far worse than anything we've seen Jod do. But I just feel like I don't care about it. Like I don't want him to be redeemed anymore. It
almost seemed just like cheap at this point. It's like, no, you've set him up. Like you to go from this whole you're just this like Jack Sparrow bad guy, but you're kind of you're a good spirited bad guy, you're a likable bad guy, to then all of a sudden make it so that he's actually that likable bad guy again just seems like I don't think I would like it.
I think the only way they can do it and not make me mad is if he sacrifices himself.
Yeah, but like, why would he?
If he does the right thing and then is allowed to survive and go on living his life and not having to pay for the awful stuff he's done, I don't think that would cut it. But if he ends up making a decision to save the kids or something that where he dies, I think it would, be redeemable, sort of a redeemable thing. But they really set him up as the bad guy now.
Yeah, I don't know, like just from like a story perspective, I like that he's, I don't know if I would, I like that he's kind of the bad guy now.
I do too. I don't mind it. Very surprised, I guess.
Yeah, I was not, I thought he actually had
expectation at all.
I thought he had genuine affection for the kids, but it doesn't seem that way based on how like the episode ended. And
I mean, and there's so much, again, like you said, I don't know how they're going to wrap this up in 30 minutes or whatever next week, because like we just don't know, and it's been referenced a few times, and even again in this episode, like Jod's backstory, like how, like why does he hate kids so much? Why does he obviously he had a messed up childhood. He grew up on this planet, right? When they landed on that Ad Akron, and it was like smoke and cinders, he was like, yeah, it smells like home to me, kind of thing. And so it's like where does he come from? Why is he so jaded? And I don't know. This just seems like there's a lot left to say about Jod.
Yeah. Well,
is he is he a freaking Jedi or not? It's like, what?
And that's where I don't know how they can resolve all this in a single episode.
Yeah.
And maybe it will be. Maybe they just have been tight-lipped about this, and it's actually going to be a second season. And who knows? But I haven't seen anything mentioned. But
as far as Brutus goes, though, like I was hoping for a bit more of I thought he was a cool character. I liked his look and his aesthetic and everything. So I was hoping for maybe a bit more of a showdown with Brutus in some way, but it also was a good way to set up the downfall of Jod, like his spiral into the true bad guy. So I didn't hate it.
Yep. So after Brutus is killed, well, I'd say executed more like, Jod, he becomes the captain of the ship. The crewmates don't really seem to have a big issue with that, which isn't surprising, as Brutus and Jod were walking earlier in the episode beside each other, and he's like, "Oh, I'll kill you either way," and he's like, "No, you won't." Jod said, "Like, no, you won't. They love me." And he's like, "No, they love plunder." It's like, "No, they love me." So it's just even interesting how he seems pretty confident.
I love how I actually wrote that down, that even though he's the one that in that situation, and obviously until he executed Brutus, but like up until then, he was not the one in the position of power. He was the one that was about to be thrown out the airlock. All that. He's like still trolling Brutus the whole the whole way, which was great.
So then they capture the kids. Jod puts on his cool captain hat helmet thing again, which I don't know if, like, for me, I love actually the voice with the helmet on. I actually really like that. I mean, obviously you have Darth Vader and Kylo being the iconic, and Boba Fett as well, but I actually really I think they nailed it.
Kylo sucked so bad when he took his helmet off.
Yeah, because it was a cool voice. And anyways, I actually really like this. I thought they nailed the voice for having the helmet on.
Yeah.
It's then the transmission from the parents. It comes through, and they tell the kids to find a Republic emissary, which obviously comes up at the end of the episode. The Republic emissary, who will know the coordinates and how to get through the barrier. And interestingly, the parents, Wim's dad says something which tell them they weren't, or he tells them that they weren't supposed to find out about any of this until they graduate.
Yeah, so all the adults know.
Yeah.
Know about AT-AT's like secrecy, and that it's hidden for a purpose, and but I don't think they know fully. Like I don't think they actually know that like the Galactic Civil War happened. I still think they're cut off from outside communication and everything. They just have been told that AT-AT's a big secret, and we're making money for the Republic war effort or something. Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because when the ship comes down, when the Onyx Cinder eventually makes it through, and they open up the ground for the landing pad, like none of those people knew that there was a landing pad there, right? Like even the adults. So there's still a good amount of information that the adults don't know, but they definitely know something.
Yeah. Where are we here? Right. So then the kids, they're on the ship. They say they need to develop a plan to get back on the Onyx Cinder. And as Fern is talking, our boy Wim just starts running at them and yells attack.
Classic Wim.
And it's just like, I just question now, is there enough time in this series for him to be redeemed from just being this useless kid?
My little bit of a theory for Wim, because like Jod specifically makes a point to crap all over him, right, when he's talking to the kids when they're sitting there, and because of that, I think he's gonna get like the final heroic moment, and I feel like the season is gonna end with Wim having the like Last Jedi broom boy moment, where he shows like some latent force ability. Like I don't think he'll actually use it, or maybe he will. Maybe he'll like break his shackles like Jod did or something. But I think he'll be revealed as a force user, and that's theory.
There was a couple other things that I noticed when the transmission was coming in from their parents that were interesting. It was actually from KB's moms. And the only reason I noticed the one was because I had subtitles on when I was watching it. And so I had to go back. And so the one was, they said, you must be so scared to go so long without maintenance. So obviously we knew that about her already, that there's some of those droid cyborg type things that she has. But then I don't know if this is potentially significant, but it was said in the background while other characters were talking, and it said, for her to get your friends to help you keep dry. And so I don't know if there's like any significance there or what that might be, but it was like interesting that they were saying it just in the background. And
Yeah.
it wasn't the main point, but
Well,
then
it was referenced a little bit last episode, like the reason that she had the corrosion the last episode was because she went into the mud.
oh, okay.
And that's
I
what
didn't-
caused her
Yeah, makes sense.
ferments and whatever to get all screwed up. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So then the kids, or Jod says to lock the kids up after Wim's failed coup. And he says that he is now the captain of the Onyx Cinder, but SM-33 tells him that he isn't because he is the captain of the frigate. And according to the pirate code, you can only be you can only be the captain of a single ship. So Jod claims the ship. Fern Wim tried to call claimsies. Jod says it is his ship, but then Firm comes out and says unclaimsies. And Jod says it doesn't work that way. Where then suddenly one of the greatest moments in the show happens where SM-33 just punches him out.
I love it. He's like, what does he say? He's like, it doesn't work that way. And he's like, close enough.
Yeah, but it is close enough. Yeah. And so then SM-33 takes out all the pirates, removes them from the ship. Jod wakes up on the outside of the ship. And then we see the pirates, they start following the kids as they are now leaving towards Adatin. And they are destroyed in this lightning defense. There's some sort of a defense system with
So that was surprising to me. I actually thought that the barrier, so like going back to that fighter, the guy that first went in and got blown up, like I actually thought the barrier was just that nebula space storm thing. I didn't realize there was an actual like defense system included in the barrier. Again, well, because and it's revealed in a little bit that the Onyx Cinder is actually one of the Mint's own ships, and that's why it can get through and everything. Because the reason I thought there was no defense system was that in episode 1, when they fly out of the barrier, like they have no trouble. But now I know why. It's because it was the Onyx Cinder specifically that flew out.
Yep. So yeah, that was the point there. Yeah, Ren had stole a Mint ship so he could fly back and forth through the barrier. Then it is revealed that Jod found his way back on the ship before it took off as they were approaching.
That was my.
Adatin.
How did he do that?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, well,
that
like
one was a bit of. I guess.
Right.
I just wish there was a little bit of an explanation there. That
It
one
looked like that ship was taken off, and all of a sudden he was on it.
Yeah.
So, anyways, he was, and this is where we get one of the most disappointing moments, and I'm not sure how final it is, but he then uses his lightsaber and cuts the head off of SM-33.
Man,
which that was like the actual feels, because like no, he is one of the highlights of this whole show. But I mean, kudos to them to be willing to do that, though, right?
Yeah,
I just don't
agree. Like I'm okay either way. If they actually had the guts to kill off such a lovable character, then that's good news for Star Wars storytelling in the future.
Yep.
I'm also okay if they don't, because I just love SM-33. He's such a good character.
I think purely from a merchandise and toy perspective, I just don't know if they can. It really depends, I guess, on what they do with season 2. If there's going to be a second season.
It depends on if they think there's more to Skeleton Crew than just a single season.
Yeah. If there is, he'll be back. I mean, you can fix a droid, right? Yeah. Like he's a droid. So yeah,
and
we'll see there.
They already did it once.
Yeah, that's right. So then Jod shows his real evil, where he threatens the kids with the lightsaber.
Which were you completely? I totally forgot about the lightsaber.
I mean, I hadn't totally. When I saw it, it made sense.
It made sense. I just it was actually a good.
Well, because
crap, he's got a lightsaber.
Weren't we discussing whether or not he had it or not? Like we weren't actually.
Last
totally
episode,
sure.
I don't think they ever showed it once.
Right.
So he got captured, and it's like, did they take it from him? Did they throw it away? Did they, which in hindsight, that was actually probably smart, because it made me, the viewer, just kind of put it in the back of my mind and forget about it. so that it is a bit of a reveal when he's just like, yep, lightsaber, chops his head off.
Well, and like, man, if he's like acting in this whole thing where he's actually not this evil guy, like when he talks to the kids and says, I'm not only gonna like kill
Yeah.
you, I'm gonna kill your parents. Like, thanks, I know what they look like. I'm gonna carve them up, is what he
Yeah.
says. It's like, okay, that's messed up.
Yeah.
Like that could just be a threat to get these annoying kids to shut up. But it's like, all right, like this, you took a turn. Like that's where at this point, it's like
that was the moment for me where I was like, he shot Brutus. I'm like, yeah, what? Like he's a pirate. Pirates do stuff like that. Like you can't really be surprised by that. But it was the way that he spoke to and treated the kids in this scene where I was just like, all right, we've got ourselves the bad guy.
And so I was surprised as well, like before it jumps back to the parents, I was surprised that he was actually trying to contact the ship again.
Yeah.
Because it, like in this whole thing, like they haven't really made it clear that he actually does have an allegiance to the ship.
Well, he did say, though, that he's like, I need the frigate's firepower to take over the mint or something. He says something like that. So I think he just knows he can't do it on his own.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So then we jump back to the parents. A droid comes in. Interestingly, not like really asking them, why did you do that? Which is kind of interesting. That's like, they're not just saying like, oh, you violated this protocol. Like, why did you do that? And so I thought that was kind of a weird, friendly thing given the gravity of what they did. But then as the droid starts talking, he then is put into standby and starts walking away. And then an intercom for the whole city, planet, wherever. Yeah, I guess that is a planet, but that city, wherever they are.
Every planet in the Star Wars galaxy is a single
city. Yeah,
basically.
Yeah. So then we hear over this gigantic intercom, the supervisor, first we've ever heard from him. It is a male voice, which that's at least leaning in towards our him being rented in some way, possibly. That's still an open possibility.
I have an adjusted theory.
Okay.
We'll get to the end.
All right, we'll talk about that. But then he says to everybody that an emissary is arriving and all essential work is to be suspended. And so then we jump back to Jod and the kids. They get to the ship. They're met by more droids, and he takes them down to the vaults for an unloading procedure. And it's here where we finally see the vaults of Atten, where the riches are. And I mean, wealth beyond comprehension.
Riches. That's a lot of riches.
And the fact,
like I said, we finally got a timeline, which is hundreds of years.
Yep.
And my assumption is that they've just been making these credits for hundreds of years, waiting for some Republic emissary to come pick them up.
Well, when you think of the economics of Star Wars in building like a Star Destroyer or a Death Star,
yeah,
like when they said that, oh, how many of these vaults are there? Oh, there's 1,139. So it's like, I mean, when you think about the quadrillions of dollars that would go into making a Star Destroyer or a Death Star, it's like, okay, I mean, at least they are making it seem in world where it's like they actually had the means to do that monetarily. Like, so it's just an interesting thing there where it's not like, oh yeah, just one vault. It's like, no, there's over 1,000 of these gigantic rooms just completely stuffed with gold. And it's like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then
my little complaint in that scene was when Jod takes the they call them dataries, which I was like, I've never heard that in the Star Wars universe before, that the money being called dataries, but he takes the little datary off the pile and they all start like, water falling down and onto his head, and he's, whatever. It just that I thought was one of the worst kind of CG moments of the series. Just didn't look great.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like a pirate moment. Like I thought his like laugh and everything was definitely that of a pirate who just found his spoil and just was overwhelmed. So I thought he definitely looked like a pirate.
Itself, I just thought it looked bad.
Yeah, well, yeah. When they were walking into the vault, you could tell that whole thing was just walking past a green screen. Not a green screen.
That I didn't mind. It was like the actual gold doubloon, basically gold doubloons kind of tumbling down. It just didn't feel like they were actually gold balloons falling on Jude Law's head.
So then to wrap up the episode, the parents come down, get the kids, and then very suddenly at the very last scene, Jod is back with the lightsaber pulled out, walking towards the kids and the parents. Definite Order 66, Anakin with little younglings feels to it, and episode wraps.
So what do you think? How do you think next episode starts? What do you think Jod is about to do?
I wonder if, like as you were mentioning, the lack of knowledge we have over his background, I wonder if it's going to start with a bit of a flashback on him.
It's actually, I hadn't considered that.
Just to like give a little bit of context, because now all of a sudden, I think for them, and they revealed that he is actually this really bad guy, and I wonder if they're gonna put a little bit of context to that as to like why do you have these Force abilities, and why are you not calling yourself a Jedi, and why are you actually really evil? So I wonder if there's going to be some sort of a Jod flashback to kick off the episode.
Yeah, you might be right. I think that, they set up the end of this episode to be very menacing. The lightsaber comes out. He's already promised to carve up the parents and all that kind of stuff. I think it's actually going to flip back to him just sweet talking his way. Because he's already threatened the kids to not say anything, right? Like, just go with the flow. Whatever I say, kind of go along with it, or I'll carve up your parents. So I think he's just going to try and convince everybody that he is the Republic emissary. Like, look, here's my proof. I'm a Jedi with the Republic. I think that's the route it's going to go. But yeah, I have a couple other predictions about the kind of series overall. Yeah, any other do you as far as
so I think one thing I wanted to mention just before we get to that stuff is I was very surprised they did not reveal who the supervisor was.
Yeah, me too. Like, I thought that was going to be the big reveal of this episode.
I expected the end to be who he was or what's going on with him, and it was going to be a cameo of like a big actor. The fact that we don't know that yet is just, I'm very surprised by that. So now it just makes me wonder, like, are we dealing with, like, is Rened even, like, is it even a person, or has he just like programmed these droids? So it's just like on autopilot, and this whole system is just.
So this is my prediction, that Rened went to the planet. He found out Atten. He found the Mint. Set up this supervisor position that doesn't exist, and I think you're right. I think the whole planet is run by droids. The supervisor's not a real person. The droids just keep up the facade. It's sort of a Wizard of Oz type situation. And he was hoping that he could just go off, and then when it was necessary, he could just come back, collect all the dataries that they had produced, and fly off on the Onyx Cinder. But then in the meantime, he died. Because of the mutinous crew that he had. And so they've just been going on for hundreds and hundreds of years making this money, and it's just no one's ever come to pick it up. And so I think that's what's going on. And so I think what's going to happen is the people of Atten, namely the parents of the kids, are going to kind of like rise up and, throw off their shackles of being, all their stupid jobs that they hate, of being like analysts and pencil pushers and all that, and become just like a normal society sort of thing. Like, that's kind of the direction it's going to go. And then I have another prediction about SM-33.
Go for it.
I think, and I'm 60% joking, maybe not, I don't know, somewhere, not totally serious, but I think that the little bilge rat inside SM-33's face is actually SM-33, and it's like a Men in Black. He's that he's actually like a sentient alien he is SM33, and he's going to somehow save the day. That's my prediction.
I saw some.
The whole series revolves around the bilge rat in SM33's face.
If this whole thing comes back to your silly rating system, I'm gonna be so disappointed. I heard somebody else I was watching them, and they said they were speculating that Renid was somehow that little rat thing.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I could see that too. Yeah.
But then that's like, what was that hologram that they saw when they were in the La Nupa?
Oh, that's true.
Right?
Yeah.
But it was kind of, I wonder if it's something like that that's really going to just catch us off guard. I could see.
No, maybe the hologram, because we never actually really saw much. Maybe the hologram was SM33, like dressed up. In a
and that's why, and it
Mm.
didn't show the face, and
Right?
yeah, because that could be kind of funny if like Renid's actually there and all, but he was then. Just makes you wonder, like, because SM33 was in the ship, it had crashed, had been buried over a long time. Why Renid would have still been there? So I don't know. I just thought that, as you mentioned, that was actually SM33, the little bilge rat thing.
I'm telling you, it's prophetic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't know what they're doing. I'm kind of going into this.
I'm kind of lost, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't mind as long as they don't screw it up.
Yeah, I don't know. Is like Ad-Atten going to be like liberated? Is that what this whole thing? Because I don't know. The people there seem to.
Well, I think that's the general direction.
Yeah.
That they'll, which I'm okay with, because right now they're in this sort of like utopian, communist, socialist, whatever. So I don't mind people being liberated from that kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't have much in terms of like additional predictions, because I have no idea where this is going. Like who is it, like at this point? Jod's the bad guy. No, like I was thinking it was going to be the supervisor.
I think it has to be. Guy? Yeah, like initially I was like Brutus. Brutus is like the secondary bad guy, and Renid / supervisor / however that works out was going to be the main bad guy. And I just don't think the supervisor. I think the supervisor's just a bunch of droids pushing buttons, and and so I think Jod's the bad guy.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I was just trying to think about that, like who's the main character and who's like the main bad guy, and it's like because it at least started with Wim, right? And so it's like it seems appropriate that he's gonna have some redemption thing, because
that's like that little conversation where they were all lined up on the floor with their heads down, and he's like berating the kids, but he specifically makes a point to like extra crap on Wim. Like I think the final showdown, which I thought was going to be between like Jod and the kids versus the supervisor, is actually, I think it's going to be Wim versus Jod.
Yeah,
somehow,
which I wasn't expecting, but after this episode, now that's what I mean. Like I don't know what to expect going into it, because yeah, we thought this was going to be them against the supervisor, but I don't really think it's that anymore. Yeah. So yeah.
All right. Well, what do you got for your episode rating for episode 7? I'll give you a quick reminder. You've got your top ranking was episode 1 and episode 5 at 27. And your lowest ranking was 20 bilge rats out of 33 for episode 4. So where are you slotting this one in, Jordan?
It wasn't my favorite, but it also was not my least favorite. So what did you say there? I did 27 was my highest.
Your highest so far. 20 was your lowest, and you had some 23s, 25s in the middle there.
Yeah, like there's enough. I think it's built enough mystery and things for me to be really excited for the next episode. So I'll give it, if 27 was my highest, 25 my next, I'm good with like a 24, because it wasn't my like favorite. It wasn't my, it was fine. Like it was a fine episode. So I'll give it a 24.
Perfect. Yeah, I think I am going to give this one a 24 also. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It kept me, I thought the pacing was really good. I was interested the whole way, never got bored. Was surprised even a few times, which I'm surprised that they were able to surprise me. And well, that's not true. I definitely thought they could surprise me. I'm surprised that I didn't hate the surprises. So I'm, still, again, this is something I can recommend, which I'm happy about it. Something I could watch with my kids so far. Obviously we'd have to have a little conversation here and there about a couple of things, but, so far so good. So yeah, I'll give this one a 24 bilge rats out of 33 for this episode as well.
As long as the next episode is good, like I'll watch it with my kids, but we're working through the main Star Wars movies right now. Kids have not watched it, so we're doing that now. And I don't know if I'd mentioned this to you, but because it was over Christmas break that we watched it, and we watched through New Hope, watched through Empire.
Nice.
And it's hilarious because they genuinely are just enthralled with the whole thing.
Love it.
Like they're just, I thought at first like, oh, Daddy loves it, so like I'm gonna like it because Daddy does, but then they're sitting like a foot away from the TV and just and like one of the last days of holidays we were sleeping in and we just hear the kids like running around yelling about like, oh no, I'm Leia, no, I'm Luke, and just yes, and so it's fun. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hopefully watching this with them, but I told them it's not proper for you to watch this if you haven't watched the main movies.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, dear listeners, we want to invite you. We are planning on doing a live episode kind of chat while the season finale gets aired next week. So if you want to be able to be a part of that, you need to join our Patreon, which gives you access to our Discord chat where that will be happening. Other than that, you have any final words for everybody, Jordan?
I'm all good.
Beautiful. All right, everybody. See you next week. May the force be with you.